Okay, so people are asking how to swap between characters. So I've made a little demo. If I press triangle, you swap over to the other character. And yeah, they have their own like separate checkpoint kind of thing, I think. So like that. And if this one dies, then it'll go to the same checkpoint. Like that, on top of the other one. Cool. So these checkpoints are very simple. It's just a checkpoint, makes the cube glow so you can see it's active, and that's about it. So first let's make a couple of puppets. We'll make one of them a different colour so you can tell them apart. Okay, so first let's get one character working where you can tell it to possess or depossess fully, kind of thing. So first thing is, so I'll just make a little timeline to kind of activate things after some time so that we can test it. Actually, I'll make it so it'll possess it and then depossess it later, all in this one timeline to kind of test. So to possess the character, we can turn on force possession. So let's use a keyframe. I'll expand it on here with up on the D-pad. I'm just kind of scaling it within the timeline to turn on force possession. Yeah, so let's go into test mode and see if that's working. There you go, now I'm possessing and I can run around and so on. There's also this depossess, so we want to depossess it later on. But for that we need to actually send a signal into this input. So let's add a switch going in here. So when we turn that on, it's going to depossess. So we'll have that, leave that on normally because we're not normally possessed. We're not normally possessing it. And then we'll use the keyframe to turn that off. So the keyframe stops trying to depossess and it turns on force possession. So let's pin that to the screen and then test it. So it'll possess, running around, and then depossess, and I can't run around anymore. So all that's working. So now we just do the same thing for the other puppet. We'll make that a red keyframe so you can remember which is which. And then we'll test that. So moving around with the left stick all the time. So nothing's happening now. And now the red person is running around, and now none of them are. So while that keyframe is powered, we're possessing the blue puppet. While that keyframe is powered, we're possessing the red puppet. So then we can just use whatever mechanism we want to power those different keyframes. So easiest way of doing that would be to have a button press. So let's have a microchip and just put those keyframes out here. Don't need the timeline. And I'll have a selector. So a selector has lots of different channels. Only one of them is lit up and active and sending a signal at any given time. So that means that while A is active, which is what it is by default, then we are possessing blue. When B is active, we're possessing red. And then we can tell it to change between those two by sending a signal into next. So let's get a controller sensor. And we can set this to the remote controllable possession mode so that it will send signals from these different buttons no matter what. So I'll use the touchpad button to go next. So if I pin that to the screen and play time, I'll push the touchpad and it goes to the next one, and then when I push the touchpad again, there is no next one, so it loops back round to the first one, which is A. So it kind of goes between those two puppets. So let's try that in test mode, in play mode. So by default blue is being possessed, push the touchpad. Now red is being possessed. Now you may want to hide the imp for that, so let's get a global settings gadget and turn off allow imps so that they're just hidden. And there you go, looks just as normal. And the checkpoints should work as well. So blue respawns there, but then if I'm red and I fall off, then I should respawn by blue. There you go. All hunky-dory. I'd like to thank Kulvitzer, Whitebeardy, Freakers, and all of my other supporters for making this tutorial possible. Check out TAPgiles.com to find out how you can support me in helping Dreams creators. Thanks for your consideration, and I'll see you in the next one.